So the author says, وَأَمَّا حُكْمُهُ بِاعْتِبَارِ آخِرِهِ. Now, concerning its judgment, the judgment of the fi'l mudari', بِاعْتِبَارِ آخِرِهِ, by the consideration of its end, فَإِنَّهُ تَارَةً يُبْنَى عَلَى السُّكُونِ. It is sometimes built on a sukoon. We'll say with a sukoon. He's going to give examples. وَتَارَةً يُبْنَى عَلَى الْفَتْحِ, and sometimes is built with a fatih. That means fatha. Fatih means fatha. وَتَارَةً يُعْرَب, and sometimes is going to have i'rab. يُعْرَب. Its ending is going to change. فَهَذِهِ ثَلَاثُ حَالَاتٍ لِآخِرِهِ. So these are three cases for its end, for the end of the fi'l mudari'. كما أن لآخر الماضي ثلاث حالات. Just like the end of the fi'l madi has three cases. Past tense verb. Just like the end of the past tense verb has three cases. وَلِآخِرِ الْأَمْرِ ثَلَاثَ حَالَاتٍ, and the command verb has three cases. So that's a nice review for me. End of past tense verb has three cases, which are what? It's going to have sukoon, darabtu, or it's going to have a dhamma, darabu, or it's going to have fatha, daraba. The command is going to have three cases. Now I'm not going to think about it. فَأَمَّا بِنَاؤُهُ عَلَى السُّكُونِ. Now concerning the fi'l mudari' being built with the sukoon. فَمَشْرُوطٌ بِأَنْ يَتَّصِلَ بِهِ نُونُ الْإِنَاثِ. Then it's a condition that there connects to it, and يَتَّصِلَ بِهِ, that there connects to it. I'm going to say suffixes to it, attaches to its back. That there are suffixes to it, nunul inath, the noon of the females. Al inath, that means females. Plural of untha, female. Or you could call it nunun niswa, the noon of the women. Nahu, for example, an niswatu yaqumna. An-niswatu yaqumna. So here, this fi'l mudari' yaqumna. Here's the bina on a sukoon. Yaqumna, because of this noon attaching, suffixing to the verb. The noon of the women. It means the women, they stand. And niswatu, the women, yaqumna, they stand. So then this pronoun, this noon, damir, goes back to the women, and niswa. And this yaqumna, that's a complete sentence in itself. Yaqumna, because that's a verb. That's a verb there. And with who does the verb? A subject and a predicate. Yaqumna, they stand. Who's they? The women. for the females that have minds or that have knowledge. Yani, can say that have minds for the females. Another example, وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ. And the mothers, the walidat, the mothers, the women who give birth, so the mothers, the walidat, yurdi'an, they nurse, they breastfeed. Yurdi'na, so that noon there, that's noonun niswa, the noon of the women. And this is fi'l mudari', yurdi'na. And because this noon attached to this fi'l mudari', it became mabni, built with a sukoon. So, had it not been for that noon, then you say, or turdi'u, turdi'u, with a dhamma there. She nurses, turdi'u. Or if it was mansub, lan turdi'a, she will not nurse, lan turdi'a. Or if it was majzoom, lam turdi', majzoom with a sukoon, lam turdi'. So that's how it would have been originally, because if there's a noon attached there, that means the noon is extra. So before that extra came, what was the case of the verb? It was like this. Turdi'. Here's the verb. Turdi'. So fi'l mudari' originally is going to be marfu'. Turdi'u, she nurses or breastfeeds. If something that makes it be mansub comes, like len, then you're going to change that ending and you're going to say len turdi'a. There's nothing attached to the end. Or if something that makes it majzoom comes, like lam, then you're going to say lam turdi', lam turdi'. Now it's majzoom, and the sign is a sukoon. But once this noon attaches, then this noon is going to lock the verb with a sukoon on it. So no matter what comes in front of this verb now, yurdi'an, there's always going to be a sukoon on that ayn. So yurdi'na, you say, for example, yurdi'na. Really, that's as if it's marfu', as if there would be a dhamma there, because it's fi'l mudari'. Or you say lan yurdi'na, so as if there should be a fatha there on that ayn, because now it's mansub by lan. And you say lam yurdi'na, as if there should be a sukoon there, which there is, but it's not the same sukoon. That's a different sukoon. The sukoon that's there right now, that's the sukoon of bina. The verb became cemented, or that sukoon became cemented there. That's not a trace of jazm. It's because of the noon suffixing to the back of the verb. And another example, وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ. وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ. And I think it's clear for you these examples are from the Quran. That's the highest evidence in Arabic language, Al-Quran. And the divorced women, Al-Mutallaqat, Yatarabbasun, they wait. They wait. Who's they? Where's the they? It's the noon. The noon means they. For women. So this noon is for the women, like the wow is for the men. You say yadribun, yatarabbasun for the men, yatarabbasun, the wow. And the noon is something else. Yatarabbasun. And for the women, you use a noon. Yatarabbasun. Put a sukun there before the noon. Yatarabbasun. Wa minhu, and another example of it is illa an yafun. Unless they pardon. Illa an yafun. Unless they pardon. Now, this case here, the author, may Allah have mercy on him, he puts that there for a sarf benefit, a benefit in sarf. Because to the novice, yani to the beginner, it looks like that's a masculine verb right there. Yafun. Like them, yafuna. But what it is, before I read, I'll tell you the end of it, and then when I read, it'll be easy for you, inshallah. That is rather here the verb ya'fu. Ya'fu. This means he pardons. Huwa. He pardons. So how would you say she pardons? You'd say ta'fu. She pardons. That's wow here is part of the verb. That's not a pronoun. That's just the original letter of the verb. Ain, fat, wow. So how do you say for the women, they pardon? All you're going to do is follow the regular rule, the very regular rule. So you're going to just say, for those women, put a yat there. And here's the noon of women. That's it. Ya'fun. They, those women, pardon. Ya'fun. So this looks like it's a masculine verb. In other words, looks like to someone who's just assuming from what it, the physical shape of it and just the sound of it, maybe if he doesn't understand what he's hearing, looks like this is the wow. That's the masculine pronoun. And this is the noon, which is the sign of rafa. We didn't talk about that yet. But it's not. It's just that this is the noon of the women. And because this verb by itself ends with a wow, then someone might slip there and think that's masculine verb. So the author produced that for us here to teach us a lesson. So let's see what he has for us. Is there any question before I go? Before I keep going, Yanni? Yes, please. He says, does Ibn Hisham use of term fatih refer to bina, and his term of fatha refers to i'rab? We did see so far in his book that he has not adhered to that. If we said, yes, it is the case here, but in another spot, it's not the case. So we saw in his book that he didn't adhere to that. But that's usually how it goes. When they say fath, that's for bina. And when they say fatha, that's for i'rab. Ameen wa fikum. This one's recording, right? Okay. So now he's going to explain. Bismillah. He says, this verb, ya'fun, is a case of what we're talking about. Wa minhu, and a case of what we are engaged in here, is what came in the Quran, illa an ya'fun. Unless they pardon those women. Unless those women pardon. لِأَنَّ الْوَاوَ أَصْلِيَّةٌ, because the wow here is originally part of the verb. That's a root letter. It's not a pronoun that was attached to be for the masculine men, 3 or more masculine ones. وَهِيَ وَاوُ عَفَى يَعْفُو. That wow is the wow of afa yafu. Afa is the past tense verb. Has a standing alif here. That standing alif in the past tense verb, that is itself evidence that the original letter is a wow. They say afa originally is afawa. Afawa. And then the wow flipped into an alif because it has a haraka on it, and what's in front of it has a fatha. Now that part that I just said there, because it has a haraka on it and what's in front of it has a fatha, just let that soak in. I'm translating for you. I don't want to stop there. Take away from what I'm saying, what? Afa originally is afawa. There's a wow there, and that wow flipped into an alif for a reason that I just told you. So now it's an alif. If the reason wasn't clear, don't worry about it now. It's an alif now, in the past tense form. Afa. And then when you make the MuDaari verb, the wow comes back and you say yafu. So that's part of the verb. So then he says here, وَالْفِعْلُ مَبْنِيٌّ عَلَى السُّكُونِ لِاتِّصَالِهِ بِالنُّونِ. And this verb here in the ayah, yafun, the sukoon here on this wow is the sukoon of bina. Why is there a sukoon of bina there? Because a wow attached. It's just following the exact rule. It only looks like, in appearance, a masculine verb. And with its context, then what's your case going to be? Where's this ayah? Ayah 3 of Surat Al-Baqarah 237. وَإِن طَلَّقْتُمُوهُنَّ مِن قَبْلِ أَن تَمَسُّوهُنَّ وَقَدْ فَرَضْتُمْ لَهُنَّ فَرِيضَةً if you divorce them before touching them and you specified a dowry for them, فَنِصْفُ مَا فَرَضْتُمْ, then submit, yani pay to them, in this case, half of what you have assigned for them. إِلَّا أَن يَعْفُونَ, unless they pardon. So who's they? It's clear that's the women. So what's going to happen to you here? If you're just trying to figure out what's going on in the Arabic, you don't know your pronouns yet like that, and then you saw it says illa an yafun, you might say, what's going on there? So then you need to go ask. Or maybe you're just putting stuff together, so then you would see it and it says illa an yafun, and then you're trying to figure out what's happening there. And then you say yafun, that's the women. It has to be the women there. And then inshallah you'll put it together and you'll see what happened there. So here he's going to be more clear. He says, وَالنُّونُ فَاعِلٌ مُضْمَرٌ, and the noon in yafun is the doer of the verb and a pronoun. عَائِدٌ عَلَى الْمُطَلَّقَاتِ, it goes back to the divorced women. وَوَزْنُهُ يَفْعُلٌ, and the pattern of this verb is يَفْعُلٌ. It's pattern. It's sarfi pattern. It's pattern in sarf. Yani, the building structure of this verb is يَفْعَلٌ, meaning here يفعلن, meaning يعفون. يعفون matches up to يفعلن. So this is in sarf. Here is the MuDaari letter. That's referring to the women. It's not the pronoun though, it's just a sign. And here's the verb. The root letters of the verb. Ain, fat, wow. They're represented by fat, ain, lam. Afu, pardoning. That's the fi'l. Yani, that's the name of the fi'l. Al-afu, the name of the fi'l. The name of the act. And then the noon, that's the pronoun. So ya'fun in this verse is like yaf'ulun. So it's just very normal case of attaching the noon of the women. It just appears to be a masculine verb only. He says, وَلَيْسَ هَذَا كَيَعْفُونَ, and this case of this verb, إِلَّا أَن يَعْفُونَ, it's not like يَعْفُونَ في قولك, when you say الرجال يعفون, the men pardon, الرجال يعفون. That's why you might be confused there, because then you might say, well, how would I say the men pardon? And then the answer would be, you say yafun. Well, then what's the difference? لأن تلك الواو ضمير. In that case of yafun here, this wow is a pronoun. It's not the original letter of the verb. لأن تلك الواو ضمير ضمير لجماعة المذكرين. It's a pronoun for a group of masculine ones. كالواو في قولك يقومون. It's like the wow when you say يقومون. It's like this wow. يقومون. They stand. But if you said it for females, you'd say يقمن. يقمن. They stand. وواو الفعل حذفت. So what does that mean then so far? Here's the verb originally. يعفو. يعفو. He pardons or will pardon. Then if we wanted to make it plural, usually what you do is you have your verb there, and then you bring your wow for the plural, and then you bring your noon if it's in a state of rafa. This wow, though, has sukoon before I bring the wow that's a pronoun. This is how the verb is. Yafu. No dhamma shows up there, even though you would estimate it as if it's there. So then when I bring the wow that's a pronoun, that wow also has sukoon. That's how that wow is built. It's mabni. It's built with a sukoon. That pronoun. And then if it's in a state of rafa, I'll bring my noon. So that's how it would be originally for males. But the rule is you cannot have in Arabic 2 sukoons in a row. Whenever you have 2 sukoons in a row, you drop the first one. So once we drop that sukoon right there, what did we do? We just connected the fa to the wow that's left, which is the pronoun now. It's not the wow that's originally from the verb. So then we're going to say ya'fun, they pardon for the men, but there's a transformation here. Something happened in this verb. It's not like for the females. Nothing happened there. As they say, there's nothing to see there when it came to the females. When it came to the males here, then there was something that happened. So that's what he's going to tell us now. So he says, وَوَاوُ الْفِعْلِ حُذِفَتْ. The wow of the verb got omitted. وَالنُّونُ عَلَامَةُ الرَّفْعِ. And the noon that's there, that's the sign of rafa'. We didn't talk about that yet. وَوَزْنُهُ يَفْعُونَ. وَوَزْنُهُ يَفْعُونَ. Then the pattern of this verb, that when you pronounce it, you say ya'fun, but its pattern is yaf'un. Yaf'un, meaning there's a missing root letter. There's a missing root letter that's supposed to be in here, where I'm putting this blue. Something got omitted from there, between the ayn and the wow. Which was the lam in the pattern. The letter of the pattern is the lam. Lam represents third root letter. Lam represents third root letter. Fa represents first root letter. Ayn represents second root letter. Lam represents third root letter. So in the case of the males, when that wow that's a damir attached to the verb that ended with a wow, then the original wow got omitted. It's also more important to have the wow that's the pronoun in this case than to have the wow for the verb, because the wow that's a pronoun comes with a meaning. وَهَذَا يُقَالُ فِيهِ, and this one you would say, or it is said concerning it, إِلَّا أَن يَعْفُوا. Yani, had this been up here, this ayah here, this ayah up here, إِلَّا أَن يَعْفُونَ, had that been for masculine, then you would have said illa an yafu without the noon because of n. N would have made us get out of the state of rafa, and then we would have dropped the noon. But because this noon here is not a sign of rafa, it stays because it's a pronoun. It's a different noon. So when you learn your Arabic, you learn your nahu, keep track of your hamzas and your bas and your tas and everything that has like that. Your lambs, your wows, your noons. Subhanallah, I had a pad, a nahu pad, and I had nice chart of those things on the inside cover of my pad. And I let someone hold it. That's the last I remember of this. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Two very important books of mine, I never found them again. بحذف نونه, there the noon would have been omitted. كما تقول, like you say, إلا أن يقوموا, like you would have said in Arabic, إلا أن يقوموا, by omitting the noon. وسيأتي شرح ذلك كله, and the explanation of all of that shall come. I suspect that was a hefty amount of information. Do you have any question, and should we stop here? You need to review your pronouns, your connected pronouns, the wow, the noon, everything. Review the pronouns for the past tense. ضربت, ضربنا, ضربت, ضربتما, ضربتي, etc. ضربتن. And you need to review your pronouns for the MuDaari. يضرباني, يضربون, تضربين, يضربن. If you have some charts, take a look at those. Review those pronouns, what they look like, what the verbs look like. Get used to the forms, the structures of the verb and all the different words. Start recognizing patterns. Barakallahu fikum. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.